fighting human trafficking during his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week.
Right. Progress his government has made in fighting human trafficking during his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week. Extol regime gains, faces criticism, escalating crackdown, coup leader, trafficking, United Nations General Assembly. Very good. Go ahead.
Due to extra regime gains at UN analysis, PM faces criticism over current human rights record amid escalating crackdown on dissent. Prime Minister and Coup leader General is expected to highlight the progress his government has made in fighting human trafficking during his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week.
Right, very good. Escalating crackdown, faces criticism, extol regime gains at UN. Prior to extol regime gains at UN. Go ahead. Analysis.
PM
Faces criticism.
over Thailand.
Human
Rights record
amid escalating
crackdown on
dissent.
dissent.
Prime
Prime
Minister
Minister and Coup leader
General
General
Private
is
expected
expected to highlight the
progress
his government has made in fighting
human trafficking during
his
speech
to the United Nations
General
General
Assembly this week. The trafficking during his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week, prior to extol regime gains at UN. Go ahead.
To extol regime gains at UN analysis, PM faces criticism over Thailand human rights record amid escalating crackdown on dissent. Prime Minister and Coup leader General is expected to highlight the progress his government has made in fighting human trafficking during his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week.
Right, very good. Prime Minister and Coup leader General Pride is expected to highlight the progress his government has made in fighting human trafficking during his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week. Go ahead.
Due to exploration gains at UN analysis, PM face criticism over Thailand human rights because amidst escalating crackdown on dissent. Prime Minister and Coup leader General is expected to highlight the progress his government has made in fighting human trafficking during and speak to the United Nations General Assembly this week.
Right, very good. Is expected to highlight the progress his government has made in fighting human trafficking during his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm not going to let you read it. It's okay. Go ahead. Even though you didn't come.
Used to explore the region's gains at UN analysis, primarily faces criticism over Thailand human rights record amid escalating crackdown on dissent. Prime Minister and Coup leader General Prayut is expected to highlight the progress his government has made in fighting human trafficking. During his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week.
Right, very good. Prior to extol regime gains at UN. Analysis. PM faces criticism over Thailand's human rights record amid escalating crackdown on dissent. Prime Minister and Coup leader General Prayut is expected to highlight the progress his government has made. Go ahead.
Prayut to extol regime gains at UN analysis. PM faced criticisms over Thailand human rights record amid escalating crackdown on dissent. Prime Minister and Coup leader General Prayut is expected to highlight the progress this government has made in fighting human trafficking during his speech to United Nations General Assembly this week.
Right, very good. Government has made in fighting human trafficking during his speech to the United Nations General Assembly this week. So, prior to extol regime gains at UN. This is the headline in the paper today. And so the Prime Minister is going to New York to make a presentation. And what's he going to do? He's going to make statements in his speech about the gains, the advances his government has made. He's going to appraise those gains at the UN, at the United Nations this week. So he's going to give a speech in which he talks about his government and what his government has done to improve the situation in Thailand. He's going to extol regime, another word for government, the existing government, the regime gains at the UN. Extol, praise. Praise the gains Thailand's government has made. Analysis. This is telling you right from the start that this is not a direct news report. A direct news report would be that the Prime Minister is going to New York to give a speech about his government. Not extol, not praise, none of that. It would just be a factual report. However, analysis, this is more or less giving the writer of the story more room to discuss and look at closely what the Prime Minister is going to do when he gets to New York. As an analysis of looking at closely what may happen. Not what did or will, but what may happen. So they're saying the PM faces criticism. He'll be directly faced by somebody that will speak about the problems that they see Thailand has in its human rights record. He faces criticism. People saying, hey, you're not doing such a great job. So he faces criticism over Thailand's record in human rights. And amid the escalating crackdown on dissent. He faces a criticism amid the fact that there is an escalating crackdown on dissent. What is a crackdown on dissent?
Severe punish.
Punish? Yes. To crack down is to basically stop what is going on. And what is going on that he's not happy with and that he's going to press down on, to crack down on, is the people not agreeing with the way the government is being run. Dissenters, people who dissent against the way the government is being run. People who are speaking negatively about what the government is doing. He is going to crack down amid the escalating. What is escalating? Escalating. Yeah. Well, have you ever gone to a department store? Escalator. Yeah, in the middle of, so he faces criticism in the middle of the rising crackdown. It's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. The crackdown on dissent. More and more people are being stopped from complaining or speaking negatively about the government. This is what the criticism that he may face when he goes to New York. Now, whether he does or not, that's another story. But in the analysis, in the looking closely at what might happen, they have decided that there might be criticism because of the rising crackdown on people dissenting with the government. So the Prime Minister and Coup, remember, coup d'etat, coup leader. Forget the P in the pronunciation, it's strictly coup. Coup, like think pigeon. Coup. Leader, General Pride, expected to highlight. What does it mean to highlight?
Focus.
Who said that? Yeah, right. Focus. To bring the attention, to this situation, to focus on it and be the primary point he's trying to make. To highlight the progress, the gains, the advances that his government has made in fighting the human trafficking problem, which is all over really Southeast Asia or all throughout Asia. The human trafficking problem. So he's going to bring attention, close attention. He's going to highlight. One of the highlights of his speech will be the human trafficking progress that his government has made. In his presentation, in his speech to the United Nations General Assembly in New York City this week. So he's going to face some criticism, but he's going to talk about what his government has done in a very praising manner, extolling the gains. We've done this, and we've done that, and we've done this, and we've done that. And the coup leader will highlight, bring attention, focus to the progress his government has made in fighting human trafficking during his presentation, his speech to the United Nations General Assembly in New York this week. Analysis. Any questions about these words? Pronunciation?
Extol gain again, please.
Extol?
Extol gains.
Yeah, he's going to speak about the gains his government has made in a manner where he praises. He says, look at what we've done. We've done some wonderful things. And this, and this, and this. To extol, to bring praise to the situation. In other words, not speak negatively about what we've done or haven't done. It's to bring praise to the gains that his government, his regime has made over the last year or so in human rights record. In the midst of the rising, escalating crackdown, the suppression, the pushing down of dissent. Dissent, not agreeing, complaining about a situation. The people that are in dissent would be out protesting in the street. No, 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 we want this, we want this. Dissent. Coup d'etat. They just dropped the d'etat. C-O-U-P-D-E-T-A-T. It is the striking at the state, striking at the state, but they refer to the general as the coup leader, the man who led the coup d'etat, the removal of the previous government, and it established him as the prime minister. Trafficking, speech, United Nations General Assembly stole regime gains, escalating crackdown. Any other questions?
Teacher, omit again, please.
Who?
Omit.
Okay, crackdown, human rights record, in the midst of, in the middle of the escalating crackdown. So he expects, while there is an escalating crackdown on dissent in Thailand, he expects to face criticism in the middle of all this, amid the escalate, as the crackdown goes on, in the middle of the crackdown, he expects to face criticism when he gives his speech at the UN. Because the crackdown, the escalating crackdown on dissent is going on right now. It is in the middle of this escalating crackdown that he's going to give the speech. So amid, in the midst of, in the middle of. Is that same dictionary with the spelling? Where the words are not spelled right?
Teacher, I mean, the dissent here can mean also the conflict with the conflict idea between red shirt and yellow shirt, right?
Right, the dissent. People not agreeing with the government policy is such and so. This is the government policy. I do not agree that this is what should happen. I think that we should do this, not that. So somebody is dissenting with the government stated policy. We're going to do this? No, you shouldn't do that. You should do this. I dissent. I disagree strongly with what you're about to do. I protest the actions of the government. So what they're saying here is that if you do this and you bring attention to yourself and you criticize the government, that you may be caught up in the escalating crackdown. Maybe that they'll send you to a monastery for 2 years to reflect on what you just said, or something like that. Or some way, they don't say what the crackdown is. They didn't arrest anybody, but maybe they just put them away for a while to cool off, so to speak. But the crackdown on the people disagreeing vocally with the government. In other words, if you went onto the TV and started protesting what the government was doing, you might find yourself in a difficult position. Crackdown on people not agreeing with the government. Any other questions about that?
PM faces.
Face, right? Face. To face the situation or to face the matter is to look, to be directly, to deal directly with the question. To avoid criticism would be not to go to the UN at all and never give a speech. That way nobody criticizes you. But if you decide to get on a plane and fly to New York City and go up to the United Nations headquarters and say, I want to give a speech, you might find somebody that says, hey, wait a minute, I don't agree with what you're doing. So he's facing the criticism when he goes. He'll be right in front of him, facing the criticism. He could avoid the criticism, stay in Bangkok, don't go. Avoid everything to do with it. Or send the third or fourth representative down the line, not the prime minister, but the deputy or some other guy. So he would avoid the criticism, but he has decided to go, and if he does, the criticism will be right in front of him, facing the criticism. Well, faces criticism.
Teacher, coup leader. Coup.
The coup d'etat is the group that has overthrown or removed the government in place. The previous prime minister was caught up in a coup d'etat. So the leader of the group that overthrew the government, the previous prime minister, and removed her from office is the coup leader. He is the one in charge of the group that took over, the new regime leader. He's the regime leader, he's the coup leader, he's the prime minister. So he led the group that overthrew the previous prime minister. Any questions? Coup d'etat. The coup de grace. Escalate. Every time you go to the department store and you get on the escalator, just think of the fact that you're escalating. Going up. And if you're going down, you are de-escalating. Human trafficking. Okay, we'll try this part right here. See if there's a couple words in here that you might find interesting. The question is how the PM will handle criticism of the ruling junta's poor human rights record remains to be seen. The junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. His first visit to the United States, to the U.S., since the bloodless coup that ousted the elected civilian government in May last year. The question is how the PM will handle criticism of the ruling junta's poor human rights record remains to be seen. The junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. His first visit to the U.S. since the bloodless coup that ousted the elected civilian government in May last year. Okay.
The question is how the PM will handle criticism of the ruling junta's poor human rights record remains to be seen. The junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. His first visit to the U.S. since the bloodless coup that ousted the elected civilian government in May last year.
Right, very good. The question is how the PM will handle criticism of the ruling junta's poor human rights record remains to be seen. The junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. His first visit to the U.S. since the bloodless coup that ousted the elected civilian government in May last year. Go ahead.
The question is how the PM will handle criticism of the ruling junta who human rights record remain to be seen. The junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. His first visit to the U.S. since the bloodless coup that ousted the elected civilian government in May last year.
The junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. His first visit to the U.S. since the bloodless coup that ousted the elected civilian government in May last year. The question is how the PM will handle criticism of the ruling junta's poor human rights record remains to be seen. The junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. Go ahead.
The question is how the PM will handle criticism of the ruling junta for human rights record remain to be seen. The junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. His first visit to the U.S. since the bloodless coup that ousted the elected civilian government in May last year.
Right, the junta chief is due to leave for New York this evening. This evening. Evening. His first visit to the U.S. since the bloodless coup that ousted the elected civilian government in May last year. Go ahead.
The question is how the PM will handle